Raider Nation, what's going on? Today we have some serious roster rumors swirling around the Las Vegas Raiders, and trust me, you're going to want to stick around for this one. This all comes off a recent article from Vincent Bonsignori from the Las Vegas Review-Journal, where he put together a full 53-man roster projection after the latest round of OTA and mini-camp action. So, like I always do, I dug into that article, broke it all down, and pulled out the juiciest storylines that I thought Raider Nation needed to hear about. Let's kick things off with a topic that always stirs the pots. Zamir White. According to Bonsignore's projection, the Raiders are planning to keep Zeus on the final roster. Now, I get it, we're still early in the offseason, and things can change fast, but honestly, when I look at the way this roster is shaping up, I have my doubts about White sticking around. Bonsignore predicts the Raiders will roll with 4 running backs, keeping Genty, Mostert, McCormick, and White while letting Dylan Laub go. And I'll be real with you, that move surprises me. If you've been following along, you know I'm a big believer that this new front office led by Pete Carroll and John Spytek is only going to carry for running backs into the regular season. And a big reason for that is how much confidence they seem to have in Ashton Genty. The coaching staff and front office have been singing his praises all off-season long, and there's a feeling around the building that he's ready to step up and contribute right away. Bonsignore did make a point in his article that there's going to be competition for snaps behind Genty. Both Raheem Mostert and Sincere McCormick have been productive when given opportunities in the NFL, so the battle for that second and third spot is far from settled. White, for his part, showed up to camp in great shape, which is a good sign. After what was honestly a disappointing season last year, he's trimmed down, looks quicker, and seems motivated to fit into what Chip Kelly wants from this offense. But let's not forget this is a guy who's had trouble holding onto the football. 3 fumbles on 186 career carries is not a stat you want to be carrying into camp when your job is on the line. And here's the thing that stands out most to me about Zamir White's situation: he's going to have to prove himself on special teams if he wants to survive roster cuts. That's just the reality for a 4th running back on this squad. Special teams ability and versatility are non-negotiables. Dylan Laub, for example, is a guy who can contribute there. He's got better hands out of the backfield. He can help in the passing game, and frankly, I trust him more when it comes to ball security. Another quote from Bonsignore that caught my eye was about the OTA and minicamp competition. He pointed out that Laub is probably sitting on the roster bubble and will need to shine on special teams to make the team. Honestly, I think that applies even more to Zamir White. For Zeus to make this roster, he has to show that he's more than just a power runner. He needs to improve as a pass catcher and become a reliable special teams contributor. Looking at the numbers, if I had to put odds on it right now, I'd say there's about a 40% chance that White makes the final roster. I know he's worked hard this offseason. I know he's dropped weight and is trying to adapt to this Chip Kelly offense, which demands more quickness and agility from its backs. But still, if I'm being real with you, it's an uphill battle for him. And look, I always tell people when they watch this show, we're here to have fun. We're here to enjoy talking Raiders football. But we're also here to make you a smarter fan. That's always the goal. Nobody makes more Raiders content than I do. And that means I'm constantly looking for details that others miss. Speaking of details, here's something from Bonsignore's article that jumped out at me. He wrote that Kem Miller was a 7th round pick out of North Dakota State, but if you've been following the draft like I have, you know that's not true. Miller was a 6th round pick. It's a small error, but as a die-hard Raiders fan, that stuff matters to me. And if you're here watching this in the middle of June, I'm guessing it matters to you too. Now circling back to the running back situation, one of the most interesting decisions in this projection is Bonsignore's take that the Raiders will keep Zamir White but cut Dylan Laub. That's a big call. Laub, while not a high draft pick, does bring versatility. He was drafted by the previous regime, which can sometimes work against a player when new decision makers come in. But let's not forget, Laub's biggest red flag is ball security. Last year, he had just 1 carry in the regular season and fumbled. And even going back to the preseason, he had issues holding onto the football. When you're fighting for that 4th running back spot, especially when you're not viewed as a top-tier special teams guy, those mistakes get magnified. If Laub can't show consistency in that phase, and if he struggles again with turnovers in training camp or preseason games, then yeah, I could see the Raiders moving on from him. But even then, It feels like the competition between Lobb and White is going to come down to who shows more on special teams and in the passing game. Another name that I'll throw into the mix just because it's worth mentioning is Christopher Collier. I don't think Collier is necessarily ahead of Lobb right now, but if he shows something impressive during camp, maybe he enters the conversation. But let's be real, the more likely scenario is that the final choice comes down to either keeping White or Lobb, and financially, cutting Lobb would only cost the Raiders about $39,000 while saving just under $1 million in cap space. Now, in my own recent 53-man roster projection that I released earlier this week, I actually kept Dylan Lobb over Zamir White. And before you come at me in the comments, let me explain why. I think Lobb's value on special teams and in the passing game gives him the edge. That's not to say I think Lobb is the better pure running back. If we're talking about who has the higher ceiling as an NFL ball carrier, yeah, I'd probably lean towards White, but that's not really the role I'm evaluating here. When you're talking about your fourth running back, you're not planning on giving him a ton of carries during the regular season. You need a guy who can contribute on special teams, catch passes out of the backfield, and step in during an emergency without being a liability. And right now, I trust Lobb a little more in those areas. So, here's the real question for you all. If it came down to keeping just one, are you going with Dylan Lobb or Zamir White? Drop your answer down below. Personally, I'm sticking with Lobb for now. Better hands, better special teams flexibility, and frankly, less of a turnover risk. Do I think Zamir White could go somewhere else and carve out a solid NFL career? Absolutely. But for this Raiders team, given the current roster makeup and the offensive philosophy under Chip Kelly, I think Lobb fits better. And let me just be clear about one thing. I don't really want either of these guys handling the ball much during games. We've got Ashton Genty. We've got Raheem Mostert. Those are the backs that need to carry the load in this offense. Running back for, whether it's Lobb or White, needs to contribute in other ways. Coming up next, we're going to dive into more roster rumors straight from Bonsignore's article. There's still a lot to unpack about this Raiders roster battle, and trust me, you won't want to miss what's coming next. Moving on from the running backs, another big takeaway from Vincent Bonsignore's article was the projection that the Raiders will end up keeping wide receiver Kyle Phillips. Now, if you caught my most recent 53-man roster projection, you'll know I actually didn't have Phillips making the cut. Instead, I used that roster spot to keep extra depth at other positions, but according to Bonsignore, the Raiders will carry 6 wide receivers, and Phillips will grab that final spot. We all know that Jacoby Myers, Trey Tucker, Jack Beck, Dante Thornton Jr., and Tommy Millett are pretty much locked in. The question was always whether the Raiders would keep a 6th wide receiver. What stood out to me in Bonsignore's analysis was his view that Myers, Beck, and Tucker are projected to be the top 3 receivers on the depth chart. That's interesting because if you've been following minicamp reports like I have, you'll know that it was mostly Tucker, Thornton, and Myers taking first-team reps, with Beck working more with the second unit. It makes me wonder if Bonsignore is projecting forward, expecting Beck to eventually climb into that top group by the time Week 1 rolls round. One factor that could influence Phillips sticking on this roster is special teams. Bonsignore pointed out that if the Raiders do decide to carry 6 receivers, special teams contributions could be the deciding factor between Phillips and other fringe players like Johnson. Phillips has played special teams in the past, especially as a gunner. But let's be honest, there are better special teams options on this roster. If it really does come down to that, I'm not convinced Phillips offers enough value to lock up that spot. Before we continue, don't forget to subscribe to our channel and give this video a like. Your support helps us keep bringing you the latest updates on our Las Vegas Raiders. And don't be shy, drop your thoughts on the news in the comments below. Las Vegas is no stranger to big rivals, but the recent buzz surrounding veteran quarterback Kirk Cousins has lit up the Strip in a way only the NFL can. While nothing has been confirmed officially, the streets outside Allegiant Stadium were filled with fans celebrating what many believe is the imminent arrival of the former Vikings signal caller to the Raiders. Reports of Cousins landing in Vegas have swirled for days, and his rumored appearance at a private team facility party has only added fuel to the speculation. Social media exploded over the weekend with videos of fans in silver and black chanting his name, some even donning customized jerseys already bearing the number 8. Was it a welcome party or just a premature celebration? That remains to be seen. The Raiders front office has remained tight-lipped, refusing to comment on any potential negotiations. Still, insiders suggest that Cousins is intrigued by the idea of joining a franchise rich in history and poised for a resurgence. With a new coaching regime looking to solidify the quarterback position, Cousins could bring veteran leadership and a consistent arm to an offense loaded with potential. Cousins, who is recovering from an Achilles injury that cut his 2023 season short, has been linked to several teams in the offseason. However, the energy in Vegas right now points to more than just idle speculation. You don't throw a party like that unless something big is happening, one Raiders fan said outside the stadium on Sunday. Whether this is the beginning of a new era in Vegas, or just another flicker in the City of Lights, the Cousins to Raiders storyline has captured the imagination of Raider Nation. One thing is certain, the rumor is alive and thriving, and in true Las Vegas fashion, the stakes couldn't be higher. That's it for this update. If you enjoyed the video and want to stay updated with exclusive news about our Las Vegas Raiders, be sure to subscribe to our channel and hit that like button. We can't wait to hear your thoughts in the comments. See you in the next video.